Hello, Kachi students! This is your virtual teacher, Teacher Yui over here. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to create this sunflower. What this sunflower project will teach you is how to combine hard surface modeling and sculpting. So, if you got all of your setup correct, so edit, preferences. Once you have it open, make sure to go to key map and make sure your tab for pie menu is switched on. Alright, you can close it once you're done, and then let's get into it. So, alright, I'm gonna run you through some of the basics for this. So, first thing first, I'm gonna hide my flower. I got it in a group. So make sure your blender is already set up for 3D print, so your length should be in millimeters. Alright, okay, Shift A, I'm gonna put in a cube. So I'm gonna make the cube around 10 centimeters, so 100 mm. So in a way, you could use Boolean to engrave whatever you want, but today I'm gonna teach you how to do it with sculpting tool. Alright, so first thing first, click on the cube you just created, add modifier, generate, look for something called multi-resolution, because this is gonna be compatible with sculpting in Blender. Alright, once you have it, you would see this pop up. So exactly like this. So you see like different sort of subdivision. If you press on subdivision, you'll notice that it becomes a ball. Basically, what it does, it curves by thing. So the effect is actually the same as using the subdivision surface, which you already know how to use. So you see two identical curved cube. But for this case, we are not gonna do that. Alright. So if you use subdivide, it would curve it. Let's say I want to keep the cube in this shape. So you can also choose simple. It looks like it did not change, right? It looked like it did not change, but it actually have a lot more lines. So what we can do now is press tab, drag it downwards to sculpt mode. Alright. Then let's say I'm going to use one of the tools. These are all for sculpting. These are all the different brushes. I think for brushes, you really need to try it out to know how it is. We're gonna use the first one first. And if you did something to it, like basically you use it, you click, you will notice that it now have a bump. You notice that when I pan it around, it seems to disappear because we're using the multi-resolution. So it's actually rendering how it would look like if it was curved like that. So this is what we could do. And if you use the second tool, it will have a sharp leap. So my brush looks really big. You can make it smaller by pressing F and drag. So let's say I want to write my name here. So I could write it. But it kind of lacks the resolution I need. So maybe I'll resolve it a little bit more. This sculpting is always going to be easier to do using a tablet because it does have pen pressure. If you're using a mouse, then you have to adjust. Let's say I want it to be sharper, then I will have more strength onto it. Its default is at 5, or depending on which tool set. The plus and minus is whether it would go inward or outward. If I press plus, it's gonna come outwards. So this is gonna be great if you want to add in details to your build. Alright? So this is how we're gonna go. Alright, so enough with the sample. We're gonna go to our flower. So how we tap back is tap, drag it back to object mode. Alright, this is an easy way. Of course, you can also go up from the tab over here into sculpting. Then you'll see like a different interface. You could use this as well, but it's just a little bit further since we already got it on. So now I'm gonna just delete the cube. Alright, so we are gonna go into the flower build now. So I want you all to try to build the base of the flower, the middle of the flower, and one petals. Alright, you could build it something like this. I'm gonna use a UV sphere just because it's easier. It already comes in a round shape, which would be suitable for my middle. I'm gonna go into edit mode and maybe scale it down a little bit. So this is pretty straightforward. This is my mid part of the flower. Then I'm gonna make one more for my petal. You could use other shapes as well. There is no limitation in terms of how a flower will look like. So I want you to create one petal and one mid part. Once we're done with this is where we're going to be using the skills that we just used just now. So we're going to be adding the multi-resolution for the mid part. Let's do the mid part first. Okay, let's add the multi-resolution. Because this is rounded, we want it to be rounded as well. I don't want to keep all the sharp edges, so I'm going to subdivide it. I'm going to subdivide it around 3 to 4. Depending on how your computer is like. If you feel like your computer is not strong enough, don't go up as high. Now I'm going to press tab into sculpt mode. Alright, so now I'm in sculpt mode. I'm going to use the second tool, which is draw sharp, because I do want sharp edges. I'm going to do the honeycomb pattern on my sunflower. So I'm going to just make this, I think 0.54 is fine. So you can start drawing it over. As simple as that. Alright, if you don't like it, just undo it. Alright, once you're done, tap back into object mode. Alright, now we're gonna go to the petal. So that's really simple, right? Alright, we're gonna go to petal. So I think this is pretty okay. Alright, as usual, add modifier. Go for multi-resolution. This one I'm also gonna subdivide. I'm gonna subdivide 4 times. After that, I'm gonna straight into not edit mode, sculpt mode. And then I'm gonna be using sharp again. Press to the front. And then I'm gonna draw a line in the middle first. Oh. Alright, that's for the petal. I want this part to be a little bit more curved. One thing that is nice about using multi-res is if you go into edit mode, you will see that it's still low poly, so it shouldn't be too complicated. I'm gonna bring my petal back to the back a bit. Switching on proportional editing, pressing G, Y. I'm dragging it back. Scroll to adjust the amount of influence you have on the model. Right, should be like this. Alright, I'm gonna go back into sculpt mode. You will see that your petal is a little bit more established. Alright, let's say I want to use one of my other favorite tools, is definitely elastic deform. It's basically proportional editing but inside sculpt tool. You want to adjust your influence, like basically the 2 circles you see over there, by using F and then dragging it for small on the left and big on the right. You can also use grab, which is a great tool, but grab will only influence the area that it is with. Alright, so let's say I'm kind of happy with my petal. This one really is up to you, what sort of petal you want to make. Alright, then I am going back into object mode. Alright, so a flower wouldn't be a flower if it only had 1 petal, so we need to create all the rest as well. So for this one, I'm gonna go to front view, and then first thing, you need to change the transform pivot point. I'm changing it to 3D cursor because that's in the middle. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna duplicate the petal by Shift D, right click so it doesn't move anywhere. I'm gonna tap into edit mode, press A to select all, and I'm gonna rotate it. I'm gonna switch off proportional editing as well. So here you go. So you see it look like this. Let's say I want the second petal to be slightly different from the first petal. So I can go into sculpt mode. Let's say I go into elastic. And then I can drag it down. Maybe this one can be the short petal. That will be the long one. So let me check the other angles as well. That all is good. You can smooth things out. Like for example here, it might be a little bit crumpled. You can smooth things out by pressing Shift. If you hold Shift and drag onto it, it will smooth it out. But this one is due to the low poly, or this one is also the smooth tool. Alright, back into object mode. Now we can slowly start duplicating them. I'm going to duplicate both of them at the same time. Shift D, tap A, R. So basically it's just like that. Really simple. Shift D, right click, tap into edit mode, press A, and then I rotate it. Alright, I think there's one more set on the other side. I could straight away Shift D inside here in the same group as well, but this one really depends on you, and it would kind of make it difficult for you to find it if you put it all in the same layer. So let's say I only need 3 more petals over here. It might need some adjustment as well. Press L, To select link object, I'm going to delete this one because we don't need it. Press A, and then we're going to scroll. Alright, let's say this one. I'm going to adjust it back a little bit. Because here is where you can kind of go wild to make it look better. Why? You might be thinking, why is Teacher Yui always changing inside edit mode? It's just because if you don't change it inside edit mode, you change it inside object mode, you will need to do an extra step, which is to apply all your transform and dimensions. So normally I like to just do my changes inside edit mode. So I think this is pretty much it. I'm pretty happy with how the flower came out. Let's say I don't really like this part, so I'm gonna just select invert. Let's see if we could sculpt. Oh, in sculpt mode, you can only sculpt one object at one time, so you wanna take note of that. In edit mode, you can have more. So I'm gonna just move this part out. I think it looks better like that. So this one really depends on how you want it to look like. Alright, so we're done with the sunflower. Alright, so now we're gonna scale it to the size that we want for 3D print. I'm gonna scale it to 3 cm. So I'm gonna just get a cube as my reference. It's already in 3 cm. I'm gonna change it, display it into wire. I'm gonna select the flower, group it together. Alright, so here I might change it to medium point, back to medium point. I'm gonna just scale. Alright, because I scaled in object mode, what I need to do now is make sure I've already applied, but if you see your scale not in this sort of score, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, you want to press Ctrl A and then apply all transformation, okay? Alright, after that's done, basically this flower is ready for export. When you're exporting, remember select what you want so it doesn't export anything else. File, export. We're gonna export it in STL. Okay, make sure that once you're in there, you switch on the selection only and then scale it up by 1000. And then you can export it. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!